What's up, everybody? Today's video is going to be about double cropping. So on our farm, we double crop almost every acre of wheat that we harvest. So you guys watched in our recent videos, our last 4 videos, it's been about wheat harvest. We take the wheat crop off, and then what's left is this stubble. And we actually go right into the stubble and plant no-till, a second crop of the year. The wheat is planted in October, harvested in June, and then we plant a crop in late June or early July. And as you can see, these beans are already sprouting, and they're up, and they will be harvested about in November. And so basically 2 crops in 12, 13 months. And so we have done this for a long time. Here in Kansas, most farmers plant a second crop after wheat. And then a lot of the soybeans or corn that are harvested in the fall, we plant wheat directly into those fields as well. So the reason we're able to do that primarily is because we have a no-till system here where you can just plant right into your existing harvested crop. You don't need to till it, you don't really need to prep it, you just need to spray it and plant it. So you're going to see Nathan and I in today's video planting and spraying and putting in the second crop. I didn't get a ton of footage filmed during double crop season. Today's July 12th. We double cropped from, during wheat harvest, pretty much all the way till yesterday. And we do double crop Milo, we do double crop soybeans, and then finally we do double crop forages and sunflowers. So we plant a lot of cover crops like millet and sedan that we graze or bale. And there's no footage of us planting the cover crops. It was just after wheat harvest, you're kind of worn out. Obviously, you guys have been watching us. We work pretty hard during wheat harvest. And during double crop, you just kind of go out there and you just kind of sit in the drill and the planter, and you're just kind of tired. And so I didn't really worry about filming. I did film a video last year that I'm going to put in the caption where I do a little better job of explaining why we double crop and just kind of what all goes into it. But today you're going to see me plant some double crop Milo, and then you're going to see me plant some double crop soybeans, and then finally I'm going to throw it back to right at the end of full season planting. Nathan explains, like for 10-15 minutes, he was a little long-winded, but he explains why we plant so late here in Kansas. We've had some comments saying that we're bad farmers because we're still planting. But here in Kansas, it's very normal to plant into June, even into July. This is very normal for us as long as we have soil moisture. But it's still not rained. It's only rained that one time since June 1st. We've only gotten 1 rain. So all the double crop is in, and that 1 rain helped sprout it. But we definitely need some rain soon if it's going to make it. So that's one of the biggest risks to double crop is it's high risk, high reward. You can get 2 crops in 1 year. It's like the most profitable thing we do, but only if it rains. If it doesn't rain, it can get you in trouble. I know my windshield's dirty, but putting in some double crop Milo. Sun shining in my eyes. This was the first field of wheat that we cut. This is the field that Dad and Kendall kind of cut by themselves and Mom hauled while Nathan and I were still finishing up planting full season Milo at that other field. So the difference between full season and double crop is that full season we're planting it earlier, like in the normal time frame of April, May, June, and there's no crop growing before it. The ground has been idle since last fall. A double crop would be following winter wheat, like the crop we just harvested. And so we plant wheat in the fall, in October. We harvest it in June. And then we plant the double crop in late June or early July. and then we harvest the double crop in November. So essentially you're getting 2 crops in about 12, 13 months. So I got low on seed here. So I'm gonna go dump a few more bags of seed in order to get to the end here to finish the field. Got some cool looking clouds over there. Finish the field. All right, that's the last pass for this field. Nathan's just about caught up to me. This is gonna be a nice field of double crop Milo. Excited to see how it turns out. Nathan's got his flashers on. I don't think he remembered to shut them off after driving down the road. Just a nice night out here in the middle of Kansas. With wheat harvest being done, it's just nice to kind of back off a little bit. Obviously, we've been going pretty hard planting and drilling, but it's just not quite the same level of intensity. You know, you're just kind of out here having a good time, as long as nothing breaks down or anything. I'm gonna go drill the last field of double crop soybeans, and then after that, all we have left to plant is the millet and the cover crops that we kind of put in to graze or you know, just cover the ground over the summer. So it's not too busy of a day, but we're definitely getting some work done. All right, so we're about a quarter done with this double crop field here. Kind of hard to see, but I've got the seed tank on the screen here. There you can see behind the drill, checking to see if I have any plugs. And there's the seed tank. So these are VisionWorks cameras. You can check those out online. Just search VisionWorks cameras. The backup camera is really nice when you're going down the road. You can see if there's anyone behind you. Really helps the safety. And then when we're planting wheat, you know, we're putting in fertilizer as well. And then this whole camera system comes with, it's basically a tablet. You know, you got music, video. There's different apps you can download, like Spotify or Facebook or whatever. It's got a whole web browser on it. So it's basically a tablet. But we use it mainly for the video capability. Just use it as a video screen. And so enjoy using that. Then of course we got our TopCon monitor, still doing its job. Planted about 21 acres this morning. I've talked about it before, but one of my favorite things about double cropping is how there's stripes in the field when you go back and forth. I always find that's kind of the unique thing about double cropping versus I guess maybe if you were planting into a cover crop, it'd be kind of similar, but there's something unique about the look of wheat stubble and seeding a crop right into the stubble.
Okay, so we have had more comments than it seems like other years this year about how late we are planting and how everybody else is done planting. One comment even said, all the other farm YouTubers are done planting, why are you guys still planting? So I thought I would try to explain a little the different reasons for our late and drawn out planting, and try not to be too long-winded about it, which I can tend to do because I can talk about this all day. But here in Kansas, especially central Kansas, and especially dryland farming, it is very common to, I mean, we always plant Milo in June. Even June 1st, we feel is a little early to be planting Milo. And now you can plant Milo in May, and some years it'll yield really good, but a lot of times it helps it to be small during July and August, and then you get your August rains and it finishes out strong. Milo is a lot easier to get a short season crop. I mean, with corn, you kind of have a limit to how short a day of corn, and it also limits your yield. Whereas Milo, especially on tougher upland acres here where 100 bushel an acre is our yield goal anyways, you can get 100 bushel an acre in 80 days. If you have the rains, if you have the water, it'll make that, if the fertility and the water is there. And so we've raised over 100 bushel Milo double crop, and there's guys that irrigate double crop Milo and raise 150 bushel in 80-90 days. So it's kind of the same idea with full season. We can wait until the middle of June and plant it into a full soil profile of moisture, and as long as we have the moisture to sprout, it'll get up, and it doesn't use much water while it's small, and then we'll get the August rains and it'll produce really well. So this year, I would say we are about we're getting a little late because of these hot 100-degree days and wind. That dries out the top really quickly. Now, where we have good residue cover and low areas, we still have very good moisture, and so that's why we like residue here in Kansas and here in our no-till operation. Oh, another thing that's very important, and why we pull a fertilizer cart behind our planter and put the fertilizer down while planting. We get it in the ground right next to the seed, and it is there for the whole season, and we're not going to lose very much if it's in the ground, because we don't get that many summer rains, and by the time it starts raining, the crop takes it up and we'll use it. We don't like to side dress or top dress as much because we might not get the rain to get it where it needs to go. We'll top dress or side dress some corn if you can get it done in early June and catch a rain. Usually we can catch at least one rain. But Milo, we like all that fertility to be there where the crop can get it when we plant. And we also don't like spraying it on as much because they can get tied up on top. Or if you do put it on too early and it goes to rain in, you might lose some that way. Ideally, we would have switched the planter to Milo instead of soybeans about 2 or 3 days before we did. The reason we didn't was we had some wetter ground that the planter was going to do better on than the drill, and also we wanted to just get all the beans out of the way. And then also, probably even more, the main reason was we had those oats we were doing, which we don't chop oats every year, and they took longer and more manpower than we kind of thought or hoped they would. Partly also because they yielded so well because we had all those perfectly timed rains for them. So you can't complain about that. We got a lot of good feed, and it was a very cheap feed. It's going to be very economical feed for us, so we can't complain about that. But it did have our drill and planter sitting more than we wanted it to. And now hopefully the Milo we planted first, all the beans are sprouting really well. The Milo we planted first is coming up green down the row. I think some of these later fields on the knolls, we're going to need a rain to get them sprouted, which is a little frustrating. But usually we can catch at least one rain in June, and that's why we usually can double crop in June. Sometimes even into pretty dry dirt and hard ground, we will double crop, and usually you can catch a rain to get it sprouted, and then those crops will survive until a big rain Usually we can get a big rain in July sometimes, or August. A lot of times they'll even hang on till August. We do get jealous of the I-State guys who they plant really hard for 2 weeks to a month, and then they're done. Maybe they'll go back and replant, and then they side dress all at once. They have spray season. They have one spray season. They spray for a week and then they're done. And yeah, it's not like here. The no-till farmers, you know, we spread our risk, and you have to have your sprayer ready to go at all times. You have to have your planter seeder ready to go at all times, and that's the number one thing it's about, is spreading risk. Now I will touch on, and Greg might cut me off because I've been talking a long time, like I knew it would, but I'll touch on kind of the old-fashioned way of doing it, and not even old-fashioned. A lot of people still do it. We don't do this practice because we are pretty big believers in no-till and soil health. But back even 20, 25 years ago, most of the farming around here was continuous wheat, maybe mix in forages, of course, for cattle, because there's always been cattle in Kansas, and maybe put in some Milo. There really wasn't very many soybeans at all around here until even 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, people would do continuous wheat because you can drill it in the fall into our fall moisture that we get, and get a good stand, and then you get your rains in the spring, the early spring, and usually you can rely on a pretty good crop, and then you till all summer in the heat of the summer when it's hard to grow stuff, and the problem with that is you can have dust blowing. The soil just gets baked really hot when it's dark, and now tillage practices have improved a lot, obviously, since the Dust Bowl, and there's a lot of guys that do continuous wheat, or at least 3-4 years of tilled wheat before crop rotation. And it works, and they can do a good job at it, and they cannot have blowing soil unless it gets like really extreme drought, and even then there's ways to alleviate that, and that does work, and you're playing, you know, when it rains here, and it's just two different ways of doing it. So that was kind of the older way. We try to keep something growing as often as we can, and we might have a crop that suffers during the dry spell, but that just means a wet spell is coming, and we'll get the next crop in and have a successful crop the next go round, the next wet spell. So that's what it's about here. I hope that made sense. Some people will disagree with how we do things, and that's totally fine. And we don't expect to do things even like how our neighbors do them, and especially not how someone in Illinois or Iowa or even Colorado or Missouri or Western Kansas or Eastern Kansas. I mean, it's just different everywhere, and that's what we try to preach everywhere we go and in our videos. And we enjoy showing you guys how we do it around here. And yeah, it gets a little helter-skelter and complicated, but there's a lot of experience around here that I can ask questions to, and I promise we're not just like the only farmers still planting. It's very common what's going on. I feel about 2 or 3 days behind on planting Milo, and but we're gonna get done here, and we're gonna move on to double crop and pray for some rain, like everyone needs. Well, a lot of people need it across the country right now. So here is planting Milo. We're doing about 54,000 seeds per acre, which is what I've been doing on like bottom, better ground. Milo will tiller some and is a lot more successful at it than corn. Corn you don't want to tiller, but Milo will. And so as long as it doesn't get too late in the year, your population, you have some flexibility with it. Upland, I'll do like 50,000 and it'll tiller if it gets good rains. You can see our skips and multiples are doing pretty good. You can't ask for as good of singulation as corn because you're doing a higher population. It's a very small seed, but this is doing pretty good here. You can see our fertilizers going on at 38. I'm aiming for 38 gallon per acre. It is a manually driven pump, but this monitor thinks that it's controlling it, and that's how we're getting our gallons per acre. So every now and then, if the pump, if the wheel slips or we go over a hole, it beeps and gives me that saturation, that control warning. So that's what the beeping is sometimes, because it says, hey, I'm not in control. And I'm like, of course not, you're never in control. But you don't have to know that. So and then we have like our meter pressures and delivery RPMs. There's a fan blowing from the big central-fill Milo tanks to each row unit, and then a fan blowing pressure. The Great Plains meters are positive pressure meters, so that's what's holding the seed to the metering plate. And our fertilizer's back behind there and also in this front tank. We just kind of use all of them. We don't very often fill them totally full because it gets to be a lot of weight, and you usually have to fill twice on a field anyways, or 3 times. So those just gravity feed to the pump that runs off of a wheel in the back, and then pumps through these sight gauges that it's hard to see, but they have balls that float in them telling you have flow. And then it goes to each row. We have a fertilizer opener ahead of the row unit. It's putting it 3 inches off the seed, and then each row unit is putting the seed in the ground, dropping it 1 by 1. These are also our pressure gauges and our fertilizer pressure, just to make sure. Kind of a manual gauge, just in case the computer screen ever gets confused. We can back it up with manual gauges. So we plant Milo pretty slow, especially when we're doing higher gallons fertilizer, because we're putting like all the fertility down at once, and we're running pretty high pressures through the fertilizer system, like 50 pounds up to 60 psi. We're gonna try to get some bigger hoses to alleviate some of that pressure, but usually Milo, you don't have to be in that big a hurry. It all depends on who you ask how big a hurry you should be in, I guess. So
All right, well, hope you guys enjoyed watching the video today. I know it's kind of long, but if you like learning about why we do what we do here in Kansas, this video is for you. So we'll look forward to seeing you next time, and please remember to click like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.